All right, take two, kids. So I learned something. I learned that when you're going to film a video, make sure that you have storage and that you actually hit the record button. 10 minutes in and I realized I didn't have a video for you. So here we go. Take two. I shouldn't make any mistakes this time, right? Right, but you know I'm gonna. I know. Okay, so we are gonna be talking about, you've been doing the area model, but now we're gonna be talking about what that looks like when you do a 2x2 digit. So the reason this is important is because as we move on and we get into the distributive property, this is really gonna help you. In fact, it's gonna show you the distributive property using that area model, using place value, using your power of 10 knowledge, using your multiplication facts. So as we see, we're going to take everything that we've been learning and we're going to continue to move forward. So these are all skills you're going to need to know as you move, as you progress further into math. So we're going to start with the problem 45 times 32. And I put my variable there, okay? Remember, the variable is a symbol or a letter that represents the missing piece. So in this problem, the missing piece, M for the missing piece, is our solution. So let's go ahead and we are gonna draw a rectangle. Okay. Now when I divide it, I'm going to leave a little more space on this side to show that these are where my bigger amounts go. So this is where my ones are gonna go, and this is where my tens are gonna go. And then I'm gonna divide it in half, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my first digit, my 45, and I'm gonna break it up as 40 and 5, and then I'm gonna take my 32 and go across the top. 32. Okay, this looks a lot like what you did the last couple weeks. Only the last couple weeks we were just doing a one-digit number and going across a multi-digit number. So now we're going to be doing 2 by 2. So first one I want to look at is I'm going to look at the side and I'm going to look at 40. Now 40 is going to go across and visit each box. So it's going to start here and it's going to be 40 times and 40 times. I'm going to take my 5 and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go across and be 5 times and 5 times. Okay? Now I'm going to look at my top digits, or my top amounts, sorry, not digits, my top numbers, and those are going to visit each box going down. So I'm going to have 40 times 30, 5 times 30, 40 times 2, and 5 times 2, okay? Next thing I want to do is I want to look at, in each box, I'm going to look at the number of zeros, because the number of zeros is going to tell me my place value for each box, okay? So for example, here I have 40 times 30. 40 is in the tens place, 30 is in the tens place. What happens when you multiply two tens together? So if I were to do 10 times 10, what is that going to give me? It's going to give me 100, exactly. So if you look at that, let's take a peek here. We have a 10 and a 10, okay? And look, we have a 0 and a 0, makes 2 zeros over here. So a 10 times 10 is going to give me 100. So let's go ahead and do that here. So in this number, I have 40 and 30, so I'm going to have 2 zeros in this answer. In this box, I'm going to have 1 0. In this box, I will also have a 0. Okay? So now when I do my multiplication, all I have to look at is now my I can look at 4 and 3 as just digits. So 4 times 3 is 12, but it's really 1,200 because I'm multiplying 10 times 10. So I have 1,200. 4 times 2 is 8. So 40 times 2 is 80. 5 times 3 is 15. So 5 times 30 is 150. And then 5 times 2 is 10. So if you notice, I had to know my basic multiplication facts. I had to know my powers of 10, and I had to know my place value when I broke apart my number. So I had to take that knowledge of expanded form. Okay, now I'm going to take these amounts and I'm going to add them together. So I'm going to start with my largest amount and go down to my smallest amount. So I have 1,200 or 1,200, 150, 80, and 10. When I add these together, zeros, give me 0, 50 plus 80 plus 10 is 140. So I'm going to put my 40 here. I'm going to bring my 100 into the hundreds place. Now I have 400, and I bring down my 1,000. So my answer is 1,440. Okay, now let's try one more so that you get the hang of it. If you need to stop and pause so that you can write this down, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and get started with our next set. Oh, and up here, make sure you fill in your answer. M equals 1,440. There is our answer to our multiplication problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our next one. I'm going to keep the numbers fairly simple, numbers that you should know how to multiply. So we're going to go ahead and do 60. Let's go with 64 times, and let's do 53. 64 times 53. So I'm going to go ahead and do, and that is going to equal our missing amount. There's my variable. I'm going to go ahead and break my box set. And right now what you should do is you should pause the video, go ahead and fill out your area model box, do your addition, and let's see if you come up with the same answer I do. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'll see you in a second. All right, kiddos, welcome back. So you should have followed that same pattern that I did in the previous problem. So we have 64 coming down the side. We've got 53 going across, and we have 60 times 50. We have 60 times 3. We have 4 times 50 and 4 times 3. So I went ahead and did my zeros for each box. 6 times 5 is 30, so I have 3,000. 4 times 5 is 20, so I have 200. 60 times 3 is 180, and 4 times 3 is 12. Added those together, I got 3,392. So hopefully you came up with the same answer. And a hot little tip, here's something that you may or may not have noticed, but to know that you are doing these correctly, this box will always be the largest amount. This box will always be the smallest amount. And these two amounts here will always, sometimes they'll flip-flop, sometimes this one will be larger, sometimes this one will be larger. Just depends on the numbers that are used. But your first box will always be your largest or your greatest, and your last box will always be your smallest or your least. So hopefully you have gotten all that down. Remember, if you are struggling or you're needing more help, come to your afternoon tutoring sessions. We will be more than happy to help you get through it and enjoy this super fun math. Next week, we will go into the distributive property, which here's a hot hint. Some of this is already up there. So, well, all of it's already up there. So your distributive property is being shown in your area model. So we will actually start using that next week, okay? All right, guys, I will talk to you later and enjoy the week's worth of math. Okay, bye, guys.